electric.
Hi everyone, welcome back for another energy update video, and this March update is a little bit different. There's been a few things that have gone, well, upside down, backwards, a bit topsy-turvy, and it all starts with days like this where a nice crisp frosty morning, spring morning in Norfolk, plenty of sunshine, plenty of blue skies, but that's contrasted with days like this. With thick mist and fog in the mornings, there's not a lot of sunshine. Yep, there's the sun right in the centre of the screen, but of course not much solar coming from it. And it really doesn't help when this is what you get in March as well. What a contrast we've been having here. And with that sort of weather, you can't really expect much solar generation. So this is February's result last month, 495 kilowatt hours, and March last year was 833 kilowatt hours. So I was expecting a nice big uplift in March, but the result that we had, 555 kilowatt hours. So well down on last March, only just exceeding February's values. This day-by-day chart showing the solar generation pretty much tells the story. The first 8, 9, 10 days we barely went above 15 kilowatt hours a day, and some of the days were down to 5 and less, so pretty bleak. But then we had a sort of cold snap around the 10th onwards for at least a week, and that's when we had some really cold weather. And as a result of it being cold, clearer skies, so a little bit more generation. We actually had a day over 30 kilowatt hours. Once the cold spell was over, it went back to being dull and rainy, so we had another week of poor generation, but then it brightened up towards the end of March. Looking at the monthly comparison chart, this really shows how bad it was. If you look at the dark blue values, that's for our main south-facing 3.6 kilowatt array, 295 kilowatt hours for the month of March. The previous worst was 323 kilowatt hours in 2021, so that sort of shows it's been the worst March we've had. Still decent generation in total, though 555 kilowatt hours. I'm not going to complain at that, but that's made up and helped by that extra 105 kilowatt hours from the new array that we've got, those east-facing panels and panels over my garage. Just to complete things, these are the day-by-day charts for each array. So this is the Solus 2.5 kilowatt inverter array, generated only 105 kilowatt hours. This one, the 3.6 kilowatt inverter, Solus inverter, that generated 295 kilowatt hours. Then lastly, the Solar Edge array, that generated 163 kilowatt hours. So there you go, there's all the day-by-days. But the main story for the month isn't really about solar generation, it's about this chart. It's about import from the grid. And what we can see here is when we're looking at February, there are quite a few days where we're self-sufficient using just solar power and battery power. And the first week of March was the same as well. I was starting to be efficient. I actually decided to try and burn some of the oil from our oil tank and have the oil boiler on to heat the house. Well, quickly though, I saw that there was a cold snap coming on, that cold weather up to -4. So I changed my mind, turned the oil boiler off and started to use the air-to-air heating system, but leave it on so to see what the worst potential usage of the air-to-air heating was. So we were testing the energy efficiency, the energy usage of that heating system, but also to see how warm the house could get. I completely changed how I looked at energy and what I was trying to do, because normally I look at efficiency. Normally I'm looking to save kilowatt hours. This month though, I decided to do the opposite. Just turn the heating on, leave it on and get it as warm as we can. Then turn other heaters on and see how warm they can get in the bathrooms as well. So we had all the immersions on the radiators in the bathrooms. So this was a very unusual month for me, changing around completely how I manage our system and our heating and our energy, trying to use as much as possible and see what the worst case scenario was. And that's what you're seeing here. Lots more grid usage during the month of March. So last month, February, we used 133 kilowatt hours from the grid, and that's obviously with my more efficient mentality. For the month of March, 309 kilowatt hours. The first week, as I said, we were still trying to be efficient. Then there was a big charging day when we charged the Volkswagen Golf up, so a big spike there. But after that, quite consistent at 20 kilowatt hours, 15 to 20 kilowatt hours a day. So I've got to say, this sort of test that I've done, doing the opposite to what I normally do, it's really helped quite a lot. It's helped me understand the heat in the house, it's helped me understand our usage. I can see the difference between an efficient month of 133 kilowatt hours and a less efficient month of 310 kilowatt hours. But it sounds like a lot when you're looking at those numbers, but when you look at the cost for February, That was just £22.71 for the month for those 133 kilowatt hours. March, £37.56 for those 309 kilowatt hours. It's not that big a difference, is it? £15 from the extreme of being really efficient to being, well, let's say, being inefficient, being more carefree with our energy usage and heating. So I definitely recommend that you try that. Try doing the opposite to what you normally do, and it's amazing what you might learn from the exercise. I applied the same sort of carefree attitude to heating our hot water this month too. So we have a Mixergy tank. Last month I was trying to be really efficient, keeping the state of charge of the tank really low, and that meant we only used 1,551 litres of hot water. This month, March, as I said, with that carefree attitude, 2,144, more like normal. But that still meant that we used a really low amount of energy. This is quite unbelievable still. So with a carefree attitude, we only used 84.9 kilowatt hours to heat our hot water, whereas last March was a whopping 146 kilowatt hours, and February last month, when we were being efficient, it was about 70 kilowatt hours. So 15 kilowatt hours is what I've used extra by being less carefree, but we've saved a huge amount of energy because we have this Mixergy tank. I keep going on about it, but it really does work, especially in the winter. And while we're on this screen, the Zappy charging, 191 kilowatt hours, very similar to last month, 192 kilowatt hours in February. So that's 774 miles travelled in our two electric cars, the Volkswagen e-Golf and the Mini Electric. And it's the same story for the house usage, which includes battery charging overnight, 547 kilowatt hours in March, whereas last month, February, it was just 338 kilowatt hours. And the part of that that's actually heating the house, that was 249 kilowatt hours this month versus 110 kilowatt hours last month. So being less efficient, using heating more, we used 140 more kilowatt hours. This is where the math should add up. So 140 kilowatt hours more for heating, 15 kilowatt hours more for hot water, and a few other increases because I was being less efficient. Multiply that by 8.5 pence. That's our average price per kilowatt hour on the Octopus Go tariff, 8.37 pence. Amazing, isn't it? If you're not on Octopus yet, you really ought to consider it. There's a referral code in the description of this video if you do want to swap over to Octopus. But it's that cheap rate that I get with Octopus Go that's really helping keeping these prices down. £15 the difference for the month from February to March. This chart showing the electric usage, the kilowatt hour usage for our air-to-air heating. This is really useful to see the peak of the test in March that I did at 14 kilowatt hours. That compares quite reasonably to the other really cold periods that we had earlier in the year. But you can see how vast a difference it is between when I'm being efficient later in the month versus when I'm not being efficient. This chart I don't show you very often, but it's the breakdown of heating devices, so it's showing how much heat we're using for every individual device, whether it's the cloakroom, the ensuite, the bathroom, Charlotte's room, the dehumidifier, and logs. If you have a look at the green right on top of the blue, that's for the Toshiba air-to-air heating system. The green is how many logs we're burning. I roughly count how many we burn a day just to appreciate how much supplementary energy we're using when I'm trying to be efficient. When I'm trying to be efficient, I'll turn the electric heaters off, not use the grid energy, and light a log fire occasionally. What you can see from this chart though, breaking it down just showing logs, March we used a heck of a lot less, and that's what I'm finding. The more I use this air-to-air heating system, the more I'm finding the heat in the house is fine. We don't need that supplementary heating, and in fact heating on cheap rate energy from Octopus Go is cheaper than burning logs. So it's good for the environment, it's good for my pocket, it's good for everything. So I think over time I will be using the log burner a lot less. On to battery then, we have a Victron Multi-Plus inverter with 3.5 kilowatt hour Pylontech battery, so 17.5 kilowatt hours capacity, about 14.5 kilowatt hours usable. You can see here on the Victron chart, the blue area is showing how much battery we used. When it's right at the top, it was 100% full, and then how low it goes, that's how empty we had it. If I break out that chart to just show the battery state of charge, you can see it more clearly here. The first start of the month, we were using down to 60%. Then when I was heating a lot, we were using down to 28% of the battery for a few of the days. So we're using a lot more of the battery. Then I stopped being efficient and we're using a lot less. But at no time did we run out, and therefore we just used off-peak energy, and hence that price per kilowatt hour was kept really low. If I had a smaller battery and I ran out, then I would have been using peak rate and we would have had to pay more for our energy. Similar story being told here with the Home Assistant chart that's showing how full our hot water tank is, the Mixergy tank. There's an integration that gives me this data separately. The first week it's showing that the tank was almost empty. That was me trying to save heat losses, etc. Then I changed to be less efficient, and hence we filled the tank whenever we had enough solar on that day. So we can see it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 or 14 times we filled the tank completely. Where if I was trying to be efficient, I wouldn't have bothered, because we don't need to fill it up to have lots of hot water. And if you're interested in temperatures, this is the hot water temperature, and as you can see it peaks at around 55, 56 degrees C for us with our Mixergy tank. That's what I've got it set to. But at the start of the month it was going lower because I wasn't heating it as much. When we're heating it a lot more, the hot water wasn't going below 46, 47 degrees most of the days. So with all this heating testing, one of the things that I do is use Home Assistant with some son-off temperature sensors to see what the temperature is outside. I use the one in the loft to gauge what outside's like, so the bottom line here showing near to 0. That was when it was -2 to -4 outside. Then the inside temperatures, I'm just monitoring the lounge, hall and bedroom at the moment. And as you can see, nice and consistent around the 20 degrees most of the time. So in summary, we generated 555 kilowatt hours, we imported 309 kilowatt hours at a cost of £37.56, including the standing charge. We exported 79 kilowatt hours, the house used 547, the eddy was 85, the Zappi 191, and heating 249 kilowatt hours. All in all, very happy. 37 quid is all we spent, but hopefully next month that import will be a lot less, and we'll have more days where we're self-sufficient. So just before I sign off, I thought I'd tell you about some of the projects we've got going this year. We're going to be remodelling the kitchen, putting new appliances in, new cupboards, new floors, that sort of thing. Remodelling the bathroom as well, but the one I'm really looking forward to is putting a room in the garden outside. So the room, a shed, a man cave, a studio to film from, and somewhere that I can build battery systems and test battery systems. So that's what I'm interested in. Looking at building batteries from cells, having new home storage batteries in to test, having some portable batteries in to test, and having a place that I can do it independently. So that outside room is key for me, but I'm really struggling to get quotations and get going with this project. I've been planning it and working on it and asking for quotes for a couple of months now, so it's slow going. Hopefully you'll see that sometime this year though. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope some of the stats there and my methods of testing are interesting to you. Look forward to you joining me for more videos on solar panels, home storage, batteries, electric cars, and everything about going electric. Take care, see you again soon. Bye for now.